Welcome to Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine. I'm your host, Jill Jardine, Master's in Counseling Psychology, longtime astrologer, psychic, healer, and yogi. Speaking of yogi, all you yoginis and yogis out there are going to want to stay tuned for this episode featuring my guest, Kevin Keegan. Kevin has combined Vedic astrology and yoga postures in the Astraline app. Stay tuned to find out more. Welcome to the episode featuring my guest, Kevin Keegan, developer of AstralineApp.com. Astraline App is a app that blends Vedic astrology with yoga to create a custom experience tailored to fit you and your individual karmic profile seen in your astrological birth chart. Kevin Keegan started doing yoga in 2005 and was inspired to get into Kriya Yoga after reading Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. After joining the Self-Realization Fellowship, he studied at the Temple of Kriya Yoga and learned more about how astrology and yoga can work together. He got the idea for the Astraline app when he was wondering if there was a way to bring the marriage of yoga and astrology into the digital age, and the app was born. He has been doing astrology readings for 15 years, and he loves the study of Indian astrology known as Jyotish. It's my honor and pleasure to welcome my guest today on Cosmic Scene, Kevin Keegan. Kevin Keegan, welcome.
Hello, Jill. Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm so psyched to have you on here as a fellow yogi and as a Vedic astrologer. And I know we want to talk primarily about your new app, Astraline. So, how can people see more about this? Can you please give the website, Kevin?
Yeah, the website is www.astralineapp.com.
Excellent. So, we're going to talk quite a bit about the app, but I want you to introduce yourself to my guests and tell us a little bit about your progress and process as a yogi and then as a Vedic astrologer. So, when did you first get into yoga?
Well, like a lot of other people, I think I was never anybody. I think when I initially was younger, I never envisioned myself personally as being into yoga or Vedic astrology. The little bit that I really did know about yoga was based on the positions and things that I saw on TV and just basically popular yoga. So I got involved in yoga through my own healing journey. So just a bit of background on me. I grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and my father was a Vietnam vet, and our family struggled a lot with a lot of his issues, and a lot of those issues kind of got passed on to me. So while I was trying to search for kind of a solution to my pain, I ran into a therapist that was very, very good and adept at yoga. And so what he did is he pointed me to Autobiography of a Yogi, and that's kind of where I just picked it up, and that book just clicked with me. I mean, it was like it hit the head right on the nail. I was raised Catholic, but SRF had seemed like a little bit of Catholic influence to it. So when I read the book, the kind of the understanding of how Kriya is and how the spirituality pulled it into itself really gave me a good basis. So from there, I started taking the Kriya Yoga at home correspondence courses from Self Realization Fellowship. And I found out I had been into regular Western tropical astrology probably since I was 16 or 17, but I had no idea that the Vedic existed. And so I learned about Vedic astrology from somebody that was in one of my SRF groups, and he was talking about astrological bangles. And so I was like, "Ooh, that's pretty neat." And so the first Vedic chart I actually got was from him, and the recommendations of what kind of bangle I should get. However, I wasn't really interested in that. I looked at the chart and I wanted to know more. I'm like, what is this Rahu? What is this K2 thing? And that's when I just really started grinding into the Vedic part. So from there, I studied under Dennis Harness at the American College of Vedic Astrology in Sedona. And that's where I got my first level certification. And then after that, I started doing readings on the side. And then I started a full blown thumbtack business a few years later. And that I did really good at that. And I discovered that I have a really, really strong talent for astrology. So from there, though, I noticed how yoga really intertwines with astrology. The fascinating thing that I saw is that here we have this practice of yoga that we use to deal with the samskaras inside our consciousness. And here we have astrology that actually shows us where they are and when they'll be triggered. And I'm thinking to myself, why are we not using astrology to help point yoga in the correct direction for timing and also where exactly to focus your energy on what particular chakra based on transit and also to the natal chart. So what I noticed too is that the classical Vedic zodiac and the planetary rulerships actually match up with the Kundalini. So if you take starting at the bottom with Saturn, so the root chakra being Saturn, then you go to Jupiter, Mars, then we have Venus, and then Mercury, and then the sun and the moon are essentially one chakra, but they're divided. You can see that the rulerships of the zodiac planets correspond also to the positive and negative. I guess I should say masculine, feminine, positive, negative. That kind of like that tone that each one of those signs has. So, for instance, if you take a look at the planet Mars, Mars rules Aries and Scorpio, and those two represent two sides of the actual Mars chakra. Your what is that? Your solar plexus, and I'm like, wow, why are we not using, because, we already have all the Vedic astrology APIs and programs. Why are we not using the movement of the planets to calculate when these chakras are actually going to be triggered? So that's where I came up with the idea of Astraline. I came up with the idea of Astraline in 2015, and I've been trying to get the program off the ground. So like me, my primary background is in IT support. So I really don't know very much about video editing and things like that. So there's a lot of tries to try to get things done on a shoestring budget and whatnot. But I eventually got funding, and I went through one round of for Astraline, but the first version didn't really turn out exactly like I wanted it. But this next version, Astraline version 2, is really great. It really hones in on what I wanted in the concept for the app. And so that's really how all this stuff came about. And I am very proud of the product that we're going to be putting out.
Yeah, it's perfectly poised at this time where in Western astrology, Pluto has just gone into Aquarius, and this is exactly, and then Saturn in Pisces in the Western, this is exactly what we need is that kind of transformative information through the technology, the Aquarian technology of an app. So you definitely have timed this right that maybe these earlier false starts were because astrologically we need it to be the right time. And then, of course, the spirituality of the Pisces Saturn tools and techniques that people can use. So I think it's all actually lining up perfectly for you, Kevin. And I really enjoyed you sharing your personal evolution in yoga, the Kriya Yoga, and in the Vedic astrology, and how it led you to the development of the app. It sounds like you are using some of your gifts from this lifetime and others and bringing it into the Aquarian age and sharing it with the collective. Because it's so great to watch how astrology, both the Vedic and the Western, is now in mainstream. Vedic, maybe not so much. Vedic is still a little lagging behind. I think people can't quite grasp it as much here in the West, in the United States, but they love their sun sign astrology, don't they?
Yes, they do. And that's one of the major hurdles that I found with developing this app is I had to decide which zodiac to use. And honestly, if we use equal house, it's really not necessarily based on the house system like Placidus or the equal house system. It's really more based on the signs themselves. So I had to decide. Well, I could use Western, and that's actually, if people want it, that's something that we could easily build into the app. But I decided to use Vedic because I think it more closely matches the spirit of yoga itself. But
Absolutely.
as far as Western astrology, the program could work in Western astrology just as much. What it does is it would just move the zodiac back the 20, or move it ahead, I guess, with the precession, the 24 degrees. And then what the program would do is it would just calculate your natal chart based on that, and you get different results. But it's something where we could give people that option in the future if that's what they wanted.
Yeah, that could be like the level two, but I agree with you. It's best to start with Vedic because Vedic astrology, known as Jyotish, the science of light, is really connected to yoga very strongly, and it is traditional to give remedies such as the gem or the Sanskrit mantra, or I know Vedic astrologers like yourself who have given yogic postures to kind of shift the planetary energies. And this is so new to the Westerner that I think it's great that you're trotting this out for them to take it at a deeper level, because the days of newspaper or online sun sign forecasts are are upon us, or they've been upon us for 100 years, but it's time to go to the next level in the evolution of the human species. Don't you agree?
I absolutely agree. And like you said earlier, just Pluto moving into Aquarius in the tropical zodiac, that's a really big deal. And then too, I think too, isn't now Neptune in the Vedic zodiac just moved into Pisces itself. So that was a big transit. And then in the Vedic too, Uranus is going to be moving into Taurus too next year. So um, there's a whole lot of transformative energy, but especially the Pluto and Aquarius. That one I think is pretty odd, like the timing of the app. And actually for me too, that Uranus Jupiter conjunction, my ascendant's at 22 degrees Taurus, so that's
Oh,
going to be happening right on my ascendant.
yes.
and,
Get
and
ready.
then my moon is going to be subjected to a Mars Jupiter transit square Saturn at oh, I guess it's at 20. Oh, what is it? It's at 2320 degrees of Taurus in the Vedic zodiac. So it's going to be a very interesting year for me.
Yeah. I think that, those of us who are feeling these outer planets, I'm an early degree Aquarius in the Western, in the tropical. So Pluto is my friend, but I have a strong Pluto placement in my natal. So I'm actually looking forward to it, because I think, people are scared about Pluto, but if you've done any level of psychological work, or you've done any level of transformational work, energy work, Pluto likes that. In fact, it doesn't want you to sit on your laurels. It wants you to, be a transformational agent. And that's what's going to happen to everybody if they're ready. You can go, what I say with Pluto, you can go and do the Plutonian purging and purification, or you can let Pluto give it to you kicking and screaming, so to speak.
Yeah, it's weird how Pluto kind of, in a way, acts like Saturn, but
Yeah.
it's a little more subversive. And the thing about Pluto is because it goes so slow. Like not too long ago, probably, oh geez, 3 or 4 years ago, Pluto was opposite my Mars for a very long time, and I was just like, I was just like, when is this going to end? But what it did is it really gave me a long time to focus on some of these subconscious anger issues that I was having. Actually, especially around my father. And at the end of the day, what Pluto did is it brought me to peace with the whole thing. For like the first time in my life, I actually was like, you know what? I'm okay with this. And to me, that was a huge deal. And I am so grateful for Pluto for helping me through that.
Right. I mean, I think you kind of hit it on the head. Pluto tends to be much more psychological in nature as it transits and hits any personal planets, where Saturn, I've seen, is more circumstantial, situational, karmic. So it's a little bit, they're both still going to be challenging and require you to make some energetic shifts, but it's all to bring you to a better place, which actually leads me into our next discussion, the differences between the Vedic astrology and tropical. The obvious is the outer planets, but I want to hear you explain from your perspective, Kevin, to my listeners what you see are as the differences.
Yeah, I think from what I see with Vedic has a lot of very in-depth, unique tools that I haven't necessarily seen as much in Western astrology, but they are there in some sort of form. So, the first most obvious difference is where the zodiac starts. The Vedic zodiac is 24 degrees behind the tropical zodiac, and how that usually I've seen it happen all the time is that people sun sign all of a sudden, they're a Leo, and then they wake up in Vedic they're a Cancer, and they're like, "Wow, that's the worst thing that's ever happened to me," which I don't understand. It's just another way to look at it. Um, but other than that, the signs basically mean the same thing. The planets basically mean the same thing. Same with the houses. So there's all that overlap is very, very close. I haven't really seen a discernible difference between the two. Vedic aspects work traditionally different than Western aspects. So, for instance, Saturn, what planet does is it aspects a whole sign. So, for instance, let's just take Jupiter. Jupiter basically aspects all the trines and then the seventh house from itself. And the Vedic zodiac doesn't necessarily take into very much consideration orbs of aspects. And so what I like to do is I like to use the Vedic zodiac, but I like to use Western aspects. So for instance, if like Jupiter is squared Mars, I consider that more powerful than a Jupiter doing a full sign aspect. But what you get in Vedic is what I've noticed with Vedic is very good for computer programming and interpretation because it's very literal in its depiction of what happens. So Vedic will say, if you have this placement, you'll get this results. And that transfers over very well to computer logic.
Right.
So, and another difference too, you got the dasha system, which just for brevity's sake, it kind of tells the timing of when the karma unfolds based on certain planetary periods, and that's based on nakshatra and moon placement. Now, the nakshatras are basically a whole sub-zodiac of 27 signs in the actual zodiac sky itself that have their own unique meanings. So there's another level of depth.
The lunar mansions that we don't have in the Western astrology. Yeah.
I know, and they're so beautiful, and like if you read the Vedic texts and all of the literature, and the basically the history of it, the stories are beautiful. And you also too have the Varga charts, the divisional charts, which take up signs and divide them into separate smaller zodiac signs, and you could derive a whole other chart from that. That's very, very basic, though. It's a little bit more complicated.
Right, and let's not forget the Rahu and Ketu. They're very, very different in Vedic than in the West. They're the karmic axis, as they are in the West, but they just seem to be much more focused. I mean, more Vedic astrologers know about the nodes in Vedic astrology than I think Western astrologers work with the nodes in the West. That's been my experience.
Yeah, I agree. And I have seen, and the nodes, I used to kind of poo poo them myself a little bit, but then I really have seen a lot of major transformations happen when the nodes shift signs in Western, in tropical, and in Vedic. And that's when I really started paying attention to them. And even in my own chart, it's just like, man, when K2 transited my ascendant, probably a while ago, actually it was in 2012, it upended everything. And I was just like, wow, these things, they mean business, and they're very serious.
Yeah, they are. I feel like whenever, I see clients in Rahu Dasha, Ketu Dasha, it's like, okay, your life's going to change from how it was before. And I love the Dasha's timing because I've given clients predictions I see, and I'll be like, see them changing a sub Dasha even, and I'll give them the date. And I said, this is going to happen, blah, 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 on this date. Like if it was Rahu Mercury, you're going to start communicating more. You might start writing. You might be studying some new things. I'll give them that. And they're like, it's amazing what happened on that day. So it's such a scientific approach, I believe, the dashas with the timing. I don't think you can get the accuracy to the day as much with Western astrology. You can talk about a time period, but I'm continually blown away about the accuracy of the dates of dasha shifts. So I'm not sure if you've had that experience or if you agree, but I've
Yeah,
seen it.
especially on the Mahadashas. Oh,
Yeah.
geez. I mean, I just looked into my Saturn Dasha around, I was in 2019. And within that month span, I had a daughter. I started a new job. I really got serious about this business. It's just a lot of things. It's just like all of a sudden my life was kind of easy for my Jupiter Dasha. And now all of a sudden, hey, Saturn means business, buddy.
That's right.
So
Time to mature rapidly, right?
yeah, and especially like with Saturn in my fifth house, it's just like, all of a sudden it's just like I got a daughter now, and it's like I actually, and I thought with Saturn in my fifth house, it was going to deny me children. It just really delayed it, but it's like now it's just all of a sudden I'm busy, busy, busy. But yeah, things are very yeah, it's got the maturity of Saturn. And then like in my Rahu Dasa, that was when I was younger. There, I was just kind of like I carefree and doing whatever I wanted. So it's really an amazing thing, the DASA system.
I totally agree. And again, it continually blows my clients away when I can do predictive dates and then have them have major shifts on them. Welcome to 2024. This is Jill Jardine, host of Cosmic Scene, international astrologer. Hey, go to my website, jilljardineastrology.com, to my shop page and book a reading so that you can find out what the stars have in store in 2024 for you personally. We talked a little bit about how yoga applies to astrology and how the app is used to customize yoga routines, but I'm wondering if you have any more to share about that, Kevin, to our listeners.
Yeah, so just to basically kind of going back to what I said earlier, really each chakra, according to the app, is ruled by a planet. So, for instance, the root planet is ruled by Saturn, or I'm sorry, the root chakra is ruled by Saturn. And so what we do is, like, for instance, we look at where Saturn is placed in your chart. And so, for instance, if you're an Aquarius rising, Aquarius is ruled by Saturn. So what we'll do is we'll recommend just kind of some base positions for Saturn. And then also too, like what we do is the app looks at transit. So for instance, if we see Mars is coming into a particular sign, like say if Mars is going into Scorpio, we'll give you the option to do Mars related routines. And so really what the app does is when you open the app, you'll see, first of all, we have over 900 pose videos. All the pose videos are basically free. It's just that what we do is the app, there's going to be a subscription charge for some of the astrology. So the astrology, you can actually look and it'll tell you that day what transits are going on, and then kind of give you just like a basic horoscope overview. And then too, for a little bit more, it will allow you to kind of look into the future and kind of see, like, for instance, a couple months from now, like if there's a particular day, like if you're getting married or if you're having like trying to plan a certain event, you can actually go forward and kind of see what the horoscope for that day will be. But then, like, too, when you open the app, it also has just basic yoga routine customization ability. So you can sort it by lower body workout, upper body workout, full body. And also, too, you have the option to have beginner, advanced, and intermediate. And then, too, like on the second page of the app, you'll see like all the chakras will be listed. And then what you do is you just basically tap on that chakra, and what that'll do is it'll bring forward a list of recommended videos for you, and that's basically how it works.
That sounds fabulous. I'm so excited for this being released. And again, they can find out about it at astralineapp.com, and they can get a hold of you at kevin@astraline.com. Now, I'm also interested to hear about how you have merged the technology of your day-to-day job with the yoga and astrology and bringing them forward with AI and actually merging your talents in an app. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about that, Kevin?
Yeah, so I have been in my IT career, I've been all over the place, and I've picked up so many different technologies. So really this came about when I started using Vedic astrology software, and I saw just how powerful just the basic software is. And so I was just like, all right, well, there's two ways I could go about this. I could manually recommend routines, but why don't we just have a computer do it for me? So what we did is we went out and we found a nice, it's called a Vedic Astrology API, and that's an application programmable interface. And then what we do is we take that and then we build the app and the program around that. And so what'll happen is when you first open the app, you'll just put in all of your basic astrology details like time, place, and your birthday and the city that you were born in. And then what that'll do is that goes out to the API. The API generates a chart, and then what it does is it pulls it back down into the app, and then you'll see I believe it's a Southern Indian chart. And then from there, the app actually uses that as a basis for recommending positions. So once you have your natal chart, then what we can do is we run the chart against where it is today, and that's where we get, just like your basic transits, that's where we get the idea of what chakra to focus on. And then also too, built into the app is the sign rulership corresponding to the chakra. So for instance, like I was saying, like Aries and Scorpio correspond to the Mars chakra. And then, of course, let's see, it's Taurus and Libra correspond to Venus, and so on and so forth, with the one exception being the sun and moon. I combine those into one chakra because technically they're split, but that's, Cancer and Leo. So for instance, if you have the sun and Leo, you're going to get, kind of sun moon routines combined. And yeah, so, and also to my background, really, working with like back ends and working with like Amazon and things like that, like Google Firebase, it really gave me a good basis for understanding like to how all this stuff gets interrelated. So this is kind of like the amalgamation of all my experience and joy wrapped up into one little creative project. And it really is my baby other than my daughter, but it's a close second.
I love it. And can you share any other information about how they can get the app? Any other information, Kevin, that you want to share about the app and or promote the app? Go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you will be able to get the app. We're hoping to release it around mid-February, but you could just go to astralineapp.com, and at the very top of the page, there's links to the Google Play Store and the Apple Play Store. And then also too, you could also search for Astraline inside both of those stores, and you should be able to find it. And then what I'm hoping to do in the future is possibly put it on the web, so we can do that. But also too, another thing I didn't say is the app also has a marketplace too, where you can order astrology readings. We also have fitness clothes. We have jewelry in there that you would like to, and also too, like yoga mats and then like stretch bands to help you get into yoga positions. So I think I probably added 40 items in there. So there should be anything you could possibly want and it's all branded Astraline too. But one thing I'm really proud of, by the way, is our logo. It's a sun. It's very beautiful. I think one of the things that my developer did is they did a great job with that logo. So if you really like the logo, you can definitely get it on some of the items in the store too. It will be branded.
What wonderful offerings. Thank you so much. And Kevin, thank you so much for being on Cosmic Scene and sharing all this. This has been very, very enlightening. And I'm so glad that you have shared your light with us here today. Thank you so much, Kevin.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate you giving me the time.
I hope you enjoyed this episode featuring my guest, Kevin Keegan, discussing the Astraline app. Make sure you download, subscribe, share, and give us a 5-star review. This is Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine, sending yogic and Vedic waves of consciousness through the quantum field.